any brand at the moment is about kind of what they do, isn't it? It's about, one, it's got to be, it's about the product. Yeah. The product's got to be great and it's got to inspire. But ultimately, what is the brand also doing? What makes up the brand other than just the product? It's the people, it's kind of the story, it's kind of sustainability and how they interact with the environment and, community and things like that. I think now a brand needs to be a much more rounded kind of package. Brand was important to help get our story out, to spread the word. We're quite a small business based on the Isle of Wight. How do we get people to know us? How do we, there are lots of big, Dutch growers, Spanish growers, all these sort of cooperatives that are having these conversations at a high level with retailers. And, we were just this kind of small business that had operated on a few markets, it's farmers markets within London. How do we get consumers to know more about us? And so brand was key. We were very fortunate, that in the early days that we had quite a good story to tell, and quite a lot of journalists shopped at the markets with us every weekend.
Course,
So when we started to think about trying to do some PR to try and promote the brand, it was quite natural. People already knew the product, so we got some good stories off of it. And then along came social media, and then social media made it a lot easier to start telling your story, connecting direct with consumers. Yeah, and that's what we've always tried to do: is really connect direct with consumers, or even some of the retailers that we work with. It's always been about trying to build relationships. Relationships are key, and I think that's with the brand as well. Is trying to have that relationship with the consumer about what we do, build that trust, build that honesty.
You recently had a big rebrand, and I'd be interested to know, did you learn anything as part of that? Because obviously when you go through these rebrand projects, it forces you to kind of have a real deep dive into where do you sit, what are the consumers looking for, what do you call out? Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what that project was like?
It was really interesting. Again, we kind of kicked that off probably about a similar time that we kind of started talking about products. And then we started the project. And then when the sort of pandemic came along, we sort of slowed it down just to sort of focus on other areas. But we kept it kind of going the whole way through. And I think what it really, showed us was that a lot of the touch points that we now talk about, the things that we were doing, but, weren't really shouting about loudly enough, so that really kind of the things that kind of resonate with the consumers now. Some of these things are kind of around about sustainability, and some of these things we were just doing anyway because, we're growing tomatoes on an island, and so we've always had to be very, very mindful in terms of how we grow, So one of those things is, most of our irrigation we use rainwater. So we utilise the roofs of the glass houses to catch the rainwater, and we store that rainwater in reservoirs, and then we use that to irrigate the crops. And so we do that, and it saves millions and millions of litres of water every year. And we were just doing that, but we weren't shouting about that or saying anything about it. And so it really just made us really focus on all those things that we were doing, doing well, and sort of brought them to the surface. And I think we're still learning things now, but yeah, it was good. But it's also about messaging and how you message things and how you talk about the brand. I think we'd always just talked about the Isle of Wight tomatoes and they're great, but how do you channel that in a different way that actually a new consumer that's never heard of you before kind of understands kind of what your brand is and what your brand represents.
Yeah, and sustainability is just rightfully so big. I remember years ago at Green and Blacks, we were doing focus groups for sort of a couple of different projects, and we always knew that fair trade was high on the list of importances for the brand, etc. But what we saw was just how important. And even though Green and Blacks was kind of known as, well, we thought it was known as the first fair trade product pretty much in the UK, but I think as much as we did talk about it, there was an opportunity we could have spoken about it a lot more, because you look at Tony's Chocolate Only that have come along, and they're not really doing anything vastly different to what other brands have done before, but they really just built it, weaved it into the brand in an incredible way, and you just saw that the power that's had in the last couple of years with their launch in the UK. There is that opportunity for a lot of brands to maybe hero it more, talk about it more, because the appetite's there from consumers.
Definitely. I think you're right there. It's that appetite from consumers. And I think, potentially social media and, different formats have helped change that. I think people are a lot more aware. People are a lot more interested. People have got a lot more avenues to go and explore things than maybe you did sort of 10, 15 years ago when, things were still very much in print media. If you wanted to find out about a story. So, people I suppose back then were looking more, at flavour. Yeah. And now it's about looking at flavour and all the other things that layer that up as well. But it's the messaging. And I think, if you're a brand now and you're out there talking about yourself, you need to be projecting like everything that you do.
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's what people are interested in.
So
People are content hungry as well now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely give your Instagram channel a big shout out because it's amazing. Just flicking through gorgeous pictures of tomatoes, tasty food.
Yeah.
Like, it is a great channel.
Thanks.
Not every brand has a product that can do that. You very much can just let your product do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're very fortunate that, the tomato is really the hero, I think, in a lot of it. And, and we get a lot of content, because of that. People are really keen to just take photographs of what they've done and share it.